Welcome back to the Vet SOS podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. We are brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Parade Deck community. You can now hear Vet SOS on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, Odyssey, and the TuneIn app. Today, we are here with Michael Anthony from Gratitude America, and he's here to talk to us about the program and all the great things they're doing for our community. And of course, we got Mark in with us again today as Keith is out on assignment. How you doing today, Mark?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking, Sean, and it's good to be back here, get back into the saddle again and talk with just some amazing people here. So super excited to hear from Michael Anthony, and thanks for having me back, Sean.
I'm glad to have you. We're going to get you all warmed up, ready to go again, and then, Keith will come back. So my phone will be blowing up. Hey, when can I do it again? When can I do it again?
That's right.
All right. I love our team here at Vet SOS. So let's get right into it here with the introduction. Michael joined Gratitude America in June of 2016 to serve as the executive director. Prior to joining the team, he worked at Publix Supermarkets, where he oversaw all corporate education for Publix managers. After 20 years of service to Publix, Michael wanted to serve his fellow combat veterans. Michael's background is in education. He holds degrees in education, advanced degrees in training and performance improvement, and he is still currently a reservist, still serving our great country. How you doing today, Michael?
I'm good. It's awesome. Good to be with y'all. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you joined us. So tell us a little bit more about this journey. How did you go from, obviously you're a reservist, but, managing Publix Supermarkets, being involved in that, and you know what, I'm going to join the nonprofit world to help veterans, improve their. How did that whole journey take place?
That was a big step, a big change, kind of a 180. I started off teaching school years ago, teaching children. And I've always been passionate about education. And it's interesting how that, how we all may go to school for something and it leads us to different places, right? But I was a struggling school teacher because they don't pay teachers very much at all. And I had a part-time job at Publix, and I learned about their education and training department while I was teaching. And they kind of lured me over from teaching children to corporate education, and moved around with Publix a bunch and kind of worked my way up through the ranks over the years to ultimately being kind of an executive trainer and a leader of the training program for the managers at Publix. And, if anybody knows about that company, it's a great company to work for. People tend to stick around for a long time. And I was extremely happy there. But during the course of that career at Publix, 9/11 happened, like many of us, right? We all felt a call to serve our nation. And so I had a great career, and it was like, well, I really want to serve, but I don't know if, being a full-time soldier is exactly for me. So I said, well, the reserve seems like a great option. So I joined right after 9/11 in the reserves, and kind of did that, all these years I'm still in. But during the course of that time, picking up deployments and, just being away and just all the things that most of the audience, I'm sure, has endured. Our stories are all very similar in some form or fashion. Started to pick up some baggage. And my wife found Gratitude America. Was a small organization. She found a little posting on Facebook for one of the military support retreat programs. And she said, hey, this looks really great. We should go. And with a little reticence and some encouragement, I ended up there in 2015 at the retreat as a participant, and fell in love with what Gratitude America was doing, and just started, kind of volunteering after the retreat, helping out, taking out trash, cooking meals, that sort of a thing. And the founder came to me. His name's Lewis Jordan, the founder of Gratitude America. He came to me in 2016 and said, hey, Michael, I really think that you would be the guy to come lead this organization to higher and bigger performance. And, it was a tough call because I'd seen the struggle of my brothers and sisters in arms, but I had a really great career. And it was like, am I really going to leave this sure thing, this career with a lot of zeros on the end, to come run a small nonprofit that really didn't have a lot of show, but had a big place in my heart. And he's a very convincing man. He was very successful in his business career. So I took the leap in 2016, and 9 years later, now I'm the CEO. But it's all training, really. I mean, that's been my background, is teaching children, then corporate education, and essentially Gratitude America. Our programs are training programs because we know veterans and service members in general, like, we're good at training, learning, continuing to grow, growing from our mistakes, retraining until we get it right. And so we believe that in order to grow post-traumatically, training is the way to do it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, and I had to chuckle a little bit with the whole Publix thing, because everybody has their own supermarket, right? But like, Publix almost has a cult following. Like, people who love Publix love Publix.
They do.
Publix and HEB. Yep.
But
Right.
HEB is a whole nother animal. Now, HEB almost had me move to Texas. That was like a huge deciding factor with my wife and I before we settled on Jacksonville. HEB was a big factor.
Oh yeah. Now we all like to eat, and there's all sorts of things that consumers look for. But it's interesting, from a training perspective, I think that's why those two companies do really well, is they invest a ton in training. Even when the market's down, they don't let off the gas when it comes to training folks, just like the military, right? When times are tough, we train harder. And I think that's why those companies are successful, and why the military is.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, you have a few different programs, I know, retreats, and then there's some things for family members, right, that are grieving and dealing with coping. Can you walk us through kind of what the organization has, Gratitude America provides?
Sure. Yeah, we have 3 programs. The first program, and the longest running program, the one that I referenced when I was kind of giving my introduction, we call military support retreats. And, they are retreat-y, if you will, because, they are a little bit fun. Basically, the 4-day military support retreat program, it starts on a Thursday evening. We just kind of kick it off, make sure we get everybody into town, some welcome, there's a dinner, like an icebreaker, that kind of thing. And then we move into full days on Friday, Saturday, and a half a day on Sunday. And during the course of that weekend, basically, any veteran, any discharge status, we do prioritize veterans who have needs. It's not a fun time; it's a time for growth. So it's a little selective, but you don't have to have any kind of diagnosis, or there doesn't have anything to be anything special about you to be accepted. You just have to want to come and be different. You're seeking something different. You want to grow. And the veteran brings with them a support person. So that's a very broad term. About 3/4 of the time it's a spouse, but not everyone's married. So they can bring anyone that supports them in their life, all the way down to, just like a best friend. Because we feel like often our community suffers in silence, because that's part of the ethos, right? It's just suck it up and drive on. But you can't do it alone. And when we get out of uniform, a lot of times we lose that camaraderie. So it's a dyad-based growth component. So you bring somebody with you, and then we spend the weekend doing large and small group sessions on the concepts of post-traumatic growth, which we can get into a little bit more in the podcast. But we do that. And then we also have nature-based recreation. It's really good to get outdoors, good for your mental health. So there's equine interactions, or zip lining, or kayaking, or everybody loves dolphin interactions. So down in Florida, you can touch and feed dolphins. So we do a lot of fun things, but really the education component ensures that when you leave those 3.5 to 4 days at the retreat, you're leaving with sort of a toolbox, right, of practices that you can use going forward post the retreat, not just a bunch of camera photos, on your camera roll of a good time. You're going to leave with actionable things that will help you grow. So that's our most popular program, because it serves at least 15 veterans and support persons, and we do those once a month throughout Florida and Georgia. And then our Warrior Path is probably our most recognizable program. That's a 7-day program for veterans only. We do host that at our property in Florida. And it's 7 days, 72 hours of instruction on post-traumatic growth. Very small group, 8 at the most veterans come to our program there for Warrior Path. And there are almost as many Warrior Path guides. So you almost get a one-on-one experience with another vet who has struggled, but is struggling well, and has sort of emerged on the other side as a role model for post-traumatic growth. So that program is 7 days. If I'm being honest, it's not a lot of fun. It's hard work, right? Working on yourself, working on your personal growth, working on growth beyond trauma. It's kind of like getting kicked in the junk over and over and over again when you're unpacking these things that we've been avoiding for years and years. When those start to come to the surface, it's painful. But what I can almost wholeheartedly promise is after the 7 days, you'll be a different person. You'll be a better person. You'll be stronger, more resilient, and somebody who has an opportunity to grow continually throughout your life. So once you leave our 7 days, we spend 90 more days with you online, with video chats, with reading, with the student guide, so that it's not catch and release. A lot of our veteran programs that are out there, it's a great one-time shot, but then that's it, because there's no opportunity to support. So they get 90 days worth of support after that. And if they really want to get a master's degree in post-traumatic growth, there's actually full 18 months worth of curriculum, but it is, you got to put in the work to learn, and you'll be an expert in post-traumatic growth when you finish, if you choose to do that optional program. And the last one, Mark, is our Families of the Fallen program. It's a very small program right now. There's not a massive need, but what we did was we essentially took the format that I talked about at the beginning with the 4-day, and we applied it towards grief. So for somebody who has lost a service member, most of the programs that exist out there, at least through my research, for Families of the Fallen, seem to be related to combat-related deaths only. But we know with the plight of veteran suicide on the rise, with the health struggles that come post-service, there's a lot of service member deaths that aren't necessarily related to combat, and those families need support, especially the families who have lost service members to suicide. There's a stigma that comes with that. There's an embarrassment that comes with that, and those families are grieving just as much as a family who lost a service member in combat. So we do a couple of those a year. Funding can be a struggle, but we actually do have one in September if any of the listeners are interested in signing up.
Hey, amen to that, brother, because that is a huge need, and that's something I'm very passionate about, right, is the family members and the grieving side of it, just on in the industry I'm in. I will say, maybe as just even a recommendation, is that you might want to look at targeting or tapping into some conversations with like insurance companies, companies that deal with that aspect of what families are dealing with. And there are some, I think some resources out there that companies have that they give to nonprofits and things like that to help. So Fantastic. That might be just an idea, right, that I had. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great.
I love the comment that it's not much fun. That's a horrible selling point, but it works with our community, right? Because we're used to terms like, embrace the suck, and, we all grow together through the misery and things like that. So it really sort of sticks with you. Hey, you know what? This is going to be some work. It's not going to be fun. And I appreciate the honesty piece of that, because I would say there's a lot of people that wouldn't be that honest and say, hey, you got to put in the work. If you want the results, you got to put in the work. So that's really refreshing to actually hear. So how does this process work? Like, if someone wants to participate, what do they got to do? Is it just getting on the website and applying, or, how's that whole thing work?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I'll say, Sean, to your previous point too, when we think about struggle, right, most of our society, not just our veteran community or first responder community, but most of society is looking for that easy button, right? That's the joke, but it's true. We're always seeking comfort, right, and things that are easy. But we all know this to be true, but nothing in life is that's worth anything is easy. The epic stories that you tell at a party are about, things that are difficult, right? You never talk about when you sat on the couch and you watch TV in the evening and were lazy. You talk about, I did a marathon once, and holy crap, it almost killed me, but I learned I can do hard things. And like you said, our community is not afraid of hard work, but there are 45,000 veterans serving nonprofits in the country. In Florida, where we are, there's 4,500, and many of them are dedicated to a good, nice experience for veterans. And that's okay, right? Fishing or a hunting trip or something like that. I don't begrudge veterans that at all, but we are not that. You might pet a horse, but we're also going to relate that to what keeps you up at night or what gives you nightmares, right? And we're going to try to help you be better. So that's the thing, is even all of the world's major religions, like, we're not a religious faith-based program, but every religion in the world is essentially, sort of based on struggle, right? Jesus on the cross, the Jews wandering the desert, right? All major religions are based on struggle too, because that's where the secret lies, is beyond, the mess, beyond the struggle, beyond the darkness. Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." but most of us are too paralyzed to enter the cave, right? So to your question though, how do you get to our programs? You can get there just about any way. Across the bottom of the screen are a lot of links and things that you can follow. But if you just Google Gratitude America, our website should be one of the first ones that pop up. And it's pretty clear. There's a big button, apply now. And what I tell everyone is don't be reticent to apply, right? For me, when I was thinking, I don't want to go to this Gratitude America retreat because I don't deserve it. There are other vets that are more deserving, or my plight is lesser than other people. I don't want to take away from someone, or maybe that was me just lying to myself to say I'm not ready, to talk about my struggle. But I tell everyone, and I told that story because my wife said, hey, listen, just apply and let them decide. It's not up to you. You stop second guessing yourself. I believe you're deserving, but put it in Gratitude America's hands and they'll determine. And so I always tell folks, don't be hesitant to apply. Spend 15 minutes, fill the thing out, and then we've got a great team that will basically call or text, or we try a bunch of different ways, even smoke signals sometimes to get back a hold of people. But we'll reach back out to you, and we talk about your application. We hear about what goals you have, what things you're looking for, and if it's a good fit, welcome. We'll give you a front row seat, and also we're very honest. If it's not a good fit for you, then let's help you find something that's a better fit. So we don't ever tell anybody no, but sometimes we say this may not be the thing for you. Try one of our other programs, or we know, there's all these organizations. If there's something you're looking for, we'll get you connected. We never turn a vet away.
That's awesome to hear. Because whether or not you're full, they don't necessarily seem like a good fit. You're not turning them away. You're still pushing them somewhere where they can receive some sort of assistance. I really, really love that. That to me makes all the world of difference.
Well, here's a good example, Sean, too. So we know that our community has a problem with drugs and alcohol, right? Just as a percentage wise, issue, a lot of vets have problems. I'm an alcoholic. I had to quit drinking because it was not good for me. But if a vet comes to us and they have a drinking or a drug problem that is interfering with their lives, our programs really aren't going to fix that. That's a critical, very important thing that needs to be addressed before you start working on, this idea of growth in the future. You've got to kind of fix what's happening right now. So we have a substance abuse partner. They don't belong to us, but they're good friends out in Texas, Warriors Heart. We have a direct line to them. So if you've got a problem, I can get you there in a week, over and get you, the help that you need for the substance abuse problem. Then once you're better and you're physiologically better, then you call me back. I got your application. We'll have you in the first class. That kind of a thing is what we do.
That's all. And to see the partnerships between organizations, because as you pointed out, over 45,000 organizations, we should be doing a lot more partnership across the board to help answer things that aren't necessarily in our wheelhouse, depending on what we do.
Sure.
What kind of scope do you guys have? I know, I think you're in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Participants, they're coming across the country. We'll talk a little bit about that, about where people are coming from and who's eligible.
That's helpful. So we're pretty regional with our military support retreat program, the one where the veteran brings a support person, meaning, we like for you to be within a reasonable driving distance, maybe 350-ish miles, something like that from a retreat location. But we have them all the way at the very top of Georgia, like on the border, essentially. So that gets all the way up into, the Tennessee and Kentucky and Carolinas area. And then down in Florida, you'd be limited a lot of times to folks in the Southern Carolinas or Georgia coming down to Florida, and then Floridians, of course. So we tend to put a ring on that just because we don't pay for your transportation to get to our retreat location. Once you're there, first class, everything's covered. We feed you all the activities, the accommodations, lodging. And it's a very expensive endeavor. So once you get there, we really take good care of you. Our Warrior Path program, the 7-day program, it's a nationwide program. And we are not the only group that hosts Warrior Path. There are actually 10 other sites around the country doing the identical curriculum. We all work together to bring the veterans to Warrior Path. Most of our applicants for Warrior Path are going to, all applicants across the country, when they apply for Warrior Path, they go to one central location and then they're divvied out regionally, because the hope would be if you get a group of Warrior Path veterans that are sort of regional together, then they have an opportunity to continue to get together after the program, picnics or camping trips or, whatever you're into. We have had folks come though from, let's say, Alaska or California all the way to Florida, but then it just becomes a little harder. So we try to keep it still regional, but our Warrior Path program, if we don't serve them, one of those other 9 sites around, if they go to our site and they apply, they're going to actually get routed to that central thing I was telling you about. And so if you're in California, you're likely going to get a Warrior Path on the West Coast, maybe in Washington State, somewhere closer to you.
Okay.
But we take them nationwide.
That's cool. Yeah. So you guys all work together and facilitate it for the whole country. That's
right.
Cool.
So that's 10 different organizations?
Yeah. So there's probably too much to unpack here, but essentially there's a great nonprofit in Virginia called the Boulder Crest Foundation. They were the originators of the Warrior Path program in 2013. In 2016, when I came on to Gratitude America, I had never run a nonprofit before, right? We determined that at the beginning. So how do you get good at something, right? You find people who are smarter than you and you befriend them or you emulate them. So Boulder Crest is one of those organizations, super open, super helpful, super honest, and they really are truly about the veteran, not about the logo or any of that stuff. So essentially, I went up there in 2016. We talked about their programs, our programs, shared a bunch of information, and I said, "Hey, I want to bring this to Florida." And they weren't really prepared for that. They were doing their own thing. And so anyway, over a couple of years' time with collaboration and other organizations and also some really great funding from Mr. Bernie Marcus, one of the founders of Home Depot, the Warrior Path program became more solidified. And we were the first partner to really bring it outside of the Boulder Crest organization. And then like a domino, all these other organizations came online. So there's one in Georgia, there's one in South Carolina, one in Maine, and a lot of these would be organizations you've heard of, and they offer Warrior Path as part of their programming. And so even though we retain our own, we're our own entity as a nonprofit, Gratitude America, it really isn't about the name. It's about trying to help the veterans. So we gather information together, we collect research together, and we fundraise together so that we can offer the same high quality programming across the country.
I love that, man. That's actually, I mean, that's what this show is about.
Yeah.
Right. The collaboration of the service organizations and entities out there that are helping the community.
Well, and I'll say, Mark, too, while we're on the topic, because I think it is good for the audience. When I told you that, again, we can't be everything to everyone, and we have, these great partnerships under the umbrella. So those organizations that I was talking about, those 10 that do Warrior Path, we all, fall underneath. And this is, again, voluntarily. It's not a corporate structure or anything, but we fall underneath the Avalon Action Alliance. And those 10 Warrior Path sites are focused on what we call HEART, right? Post-traumatic stress, suicide ideations, depression, those sorts of things. But there's also traumatic brain injuries that are pervasive, right, within our community that are untreated. So there are I think 8, don't quote me exactly, but I think there's 8 sites around the country that are private, that are fixated on traumatic brain injury treatment. We happen to have one right here in Jacksonville, about an hour from us at University of Florida. So if a veteran has an untreated traumatic brain injury, we can refer them over to UF. They get world-class care at the Brain Wellness Center there in Jacksonville. They can get the TBI address, then they can come to us. So head, then heart, or substance abuse, then head, then heart. So there's sort of a menu of things, and none of these organizations are necessarily beholden to each other, but we have these memorandums of agreement where we share underneath that umbrella. So just not every veteran challenge, but many of them we have all kind of within our collective network.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
And I'm familiar with the UF program here in Jacksonville. I'm actually enrolled to participate here in about 3 weeks.
Oh, great.
Which is I'm looking forward to it, and I've had a couple buddies go through it, and just seeing the results that they had. So it's so refreshing though to hear that we have this kind of collaboration going on. That we have these multi-sites doing the same curriculum. So there's always feedback coming in, right? So you can always make the program better if it needs to improve. But then you also have the sharing of best practices and ideas that it's only going to make it better. Right. Absolutely love hearing that. And it sounds like, the despite not having any experience in nonprofit, you took a great path to do it. Going somewhere and asking the questions of people who are doing it well, and then bringing it back home to what you're trying to do there. So I applaud you for those efforts. Mark, we're getting close to time again, man. These things just keep flying by.
I know. It's just mind blowing how fast these things go. So
maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, just love what you're doing, and thank you for sharing. Just a wealth of information here, and not only just one program, but you have 3 just absolutely phenomenal programs that you guys are running. Love your organization. So what's the best place? Again, I know people can sign up on your website. Is that also the best place to engage with you, or if they've got questions, if they want to reach out maybe directly to you, how should they connect?
Definitely. Yeah. The website's probably the easiest way, gratitudeamerica.org, but we have, social media. Basically all the platforms are Gratitude America, no space between Gratitude and America. And, I'll just close with an anecdote. The thing is that there's a lot of really good traditional mental health that exists out there, but our community avoids it because of, could be maybe they feel like the psychologist or psychiatrist doesn't understand because they haven't walked in combat boots or whatever it might be. There's a place for that. When your mental house is on fire, right? You need a psychologist or a psychiatrist, somebody who can give you critical intervention. That would be like if your kitchen caught on fire. If your kitchen gets on fire, you're going to call the fire department no matter what. That's the only person to call, right? And so, but when the fire's put out, you don't ask the fire department to stick around to rebuild your kitchen. That's laughable, right? You're going to hire a contractor or a carpenter, right? And then you're going to probably make that kitchen even better. Use that as an opportunity. Granite countertops maybe, or a double oven, or I'm going to make it nicer than it was because it's a total loss. Well, we feel like we're the carpenters or the contractors of veterans' lives, meaning when your mental fire is put out, that's kind of the end of the traditional mental health model. There's no incentive to help grow or rebuild better. And that's where we step in. We're the contractors or the carpenters of veterans' lives. We want to help them build it and build it. In fact, build a life that's better than it was before we struggled, before the post-traumatic stress, the depression, and just post, trauma from our experiences in the service. So please come find us. We'd love to have you. It's totally no cost. All you got to do is be brave enough to sign up.
So for participants and also for donors, right? Connect 100%. With Michael Anthony. Connect with the organization. Make sure that you're engaging with them. It's a great organization. So on behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Michael Anthony, again for your time. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. Also, so important, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab your Vet SOS Lifeline.